You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on AM 1240 and Noogaradio.com. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, especially over the weekend. Sports stuff happens. Sometimes it's funny. I watched some stuff happen in the NFC East that I'm not going to lie, could only ever happen in the NFC East. Could only ever happen in the NFC East. There is no division or conference or any such thing in sports, not just the NFL, in sports, than the stuff that happens in the NFC East sometimes. And I'm talking Redskins, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants. Those four teams are an aberration of existence. The big NFL story of the day, though, is Jeff Fisher being relieved of his coaching duties the year that he signs a 2-year contract extension with the Rams. Everybody was wondering how it was that this whole Jeff Fisher thing actually lasted as long as it did. I mean, a guy gets a 2-year contract extension despite the fact that he's got more losses in the history of coaching in the National Football League. So we'll get into that. The coaching carousel continues to turn. Lane Kiffin finds a spot. It's in Florida, but it's probably not the Florida job that he initially wanted. And Auburn moving in some new directions. So we'll get to all of those things, but first I'd like to mention that you should probably check us out on our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube page. Hot News Talk Radio is the place to be. Search Hot News Talk Radio on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube for your best in local Chattanooga traffic, weather, sports, and news. And tune in on YouTube so you can see what it is that we look like. Of course, I highly recommend that you go to our website, Noogaradio.com, and catch us on the TuneIn Radio app. Free in whatever app store you use. Simply search Hot News Talk Radio in the app. Give us a favorite. Press play. You'll have Nooga Radio everywhere you go. Jeff Fisher finally no longer coaching the Rams on a day that basically was the season in a nutshell. They play the Atlanta Falcons, and the Falcons, I wanted the Falcons to be the big story of today, and it couldn't be, because Jeff Fisher got fired, and he got fired in large part because the Falcons rolled up in L.A. against the L.A. Rams and scored more touchdowns yesterday than the Rams have scored in L.A. this entire season. The entire season. Jeff Fisher and the Rams as a pair, that thing went on long enough. And it was just odd to me because Jeff Fisher making excuses constantly, never owning up to anything in particular. And it was about time. It was about that time. If you want to be completely honest about it, he is the coach of a team yesterday that they botched the opening kick on the return. And you want to blame the players for that. But you know what? When the team is consistently not scoring points, they look underprepared for every game. And you've been coaching the Rams for what, 4 seasons now? At some point, it's not the players, it's the coach. You never got the right collection of guys together. And when you did, they didn't seem prepared to do anything in particular. Jared Goff looked awful. He looked really, really bad. And Jared Goff's a guy that I thought, I don't even give the Rams too much flack for drafting him number 1 overall because people do this all the time. A team drafts a guy, the guy is considered a bust, and then we all put on our hindsight glasses and go, yeah, why did they draft him? You know why they drafted Jared Goff. We all thought Jared Goff was good, or at least serviceable. Like, if you watch Jared Goff play at Cal, there's no way you don't come away thinking this guy has at least the tools to be an NFL quarterback. And don't give me that he didn't play in a traditional NFL offense. Neither did Marcus Mariota, who had a historically bad day yesterday, and we'll get to that as well. But Jeff Fisher, as the head coach of the Rams, he's out. The Rams have to move in a different direction. It is hilarious. They botched the opening kick, give the Falcons the ball on the 6-yard line. Jeff Fisher wants to make a challenge early in the game and simply cannot find the challenge flag, which he told the media after the game, it was funny. I was just wearing this big jacket, couldn't find the flag. It was funny. It would be funny if Bill Belichick couldn't find the challenge flag. Right? It'd be funny if John Harbaugh could not find the challenge flag. It would be funny if Andy Reid could not find the challenge flag. Actually, it'd be particularly funny if Andy Reid couldn't find the challenge flag, but you get my point. Those guys are coaching teams that are winning football games right now, or have won football games in recent seasons, like where they were contenders and stuff, right? Like, even if you're not, like, we're not talking about being an elite head coach. If Chip Kelly couldn't find the challenge flag, it wouldn't be a story. It would be stupid, but it wouldn't be a story. Jeff Fisher can't find the challenge flag, and this just sort of encapsulates everything that's wrong with that football team. They are unprepared. They are not ready to go. And all of these problems stack on top of each other so that you have this one problem that would normally be an innocuous problem, and it's not. It's just not. Right? Like, that is a thing that happens in life. If I'm coming on this show and I mess up here or there, most people are fine with that. Most people do not have a problem if you're messing up. The problem is if you're always messing up, if you're never prepared, if you don't ever know what you're talking about, right? Then it kind of builds up with people, and then everyone loses their patience with you. That's what happened with Jeff Fisher. He's no longer the head coach of the Rams, and so we have reached the point in the NFL season that we just are coming to an end now in the college football season, which is that we're starting to figure out which openings are available for which teams. And now we're going to be looking around the league to see which coaches are going to fill those roles. And if we're also talking about coaching, you're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose, by the way, on NoogaRadio.com. and AM 1240. If you are talking about coaches, then you got to talk about Lane Kiffin, right? Like, the second biggest story of the day is Lane Kiffin finds himself the head coach of Florida Atlantic University, which is cool for him, I guess. But, like, it's interesting with Lane Kiffin because Lane Kiffin is a coach, or at least was a coaching candidate with a lot of that big name potential. When you start to look around at athletic directors, a lot of athletic directors find themselves under the gun a little bit. You're trying to find the right guy for your job, the right guy for your school, the right fit for your program, and all of those things. And what you want to do sometimes to keep the boosters off your back, to keep the fan base happy, is go out there and make a big, flashy coaching hire. And it's interesting because in a lot of ways, like, nobody did that this offseason. The Charlie Strong to USF was the big flashy coaching hire, and USF was just such a good fit for Charlie Strong. Like, it didn't make any sense for him not to go there, right? But Lane Kiffin is a big flashy coaching candidate. He hits all the check boxes for big flashy coaching candidate, right? He is a coordinator at a 3-time SEC conference winner, right? He is the offensive coordinator of the best school in the nation, and the school that has been the best school in the nation for arguably 3 years. He hits that checkbox. He has proven his brilliance offensively, right? I know that a lot of people criticize Lane Kiffin for not liking to run the football, and he gets too pass happy. But whatever criticism you have, you will just have to keep to yourself this season because it hasn't resulted in any losses. None. He's taken Alabama's offense to new heights. Checkbox. Right? Like, he's proven his skill. He's proven it works. He got Nick Saban to open up spread attack, and he's been a head coach before. Tennessee, albeit that the way that ended was not the way that anybody would have liked, but he's been a head coach before. And he only had 1 year at Tennessee, but arguably, right, like, that could have gone a different way. Say he doesn't leave for the Southern California job, right? He stays at Tennessee. He just put together a number one recruiting class. How far could the Vols have gone had Lane Kiffin decided to stay? Right? Like, we don't know. That's one of those mysteries that we're just never going to have the answer to. But, like, nobody was under this impression that, like, the Vols wouldn't have been good with Lane Kiffin. He may not have been the best fit for them, but he was certainly a good coach. So he's got coaching experience on his resume, head coaching experience on his resume. He's got his skills proven on the field, right? And he is attached to a winner. How on earth does that guy with a resume that looks like that end up at Florida Atlantic? Well, on his part, it's a little bit of desperation, right? Like, you hope that you could get one of these good coaching jobs, right? Like Houston, that's a good coaching job. Even after Willie Taggart left, USF, that's a good coaching job. Like, you would inherit a really good quarterback, a team that just came off of a 10-win season. You know, even if you inherit the Cincinnati job, right? Like, that's in a conference that really cares about football. You're going to a school that has a history of being at least a decent football school at times. So you're not going to some unknown place out in the wilderness. Except now that you're going to Florida Atlantic. And while Florida Atlantic, by the way, is fine, it's a fine place to be. I'm not bashing Florida Atlantic, but certainly if you're Lane Kiffin and you're a guy that wants to be trying to make a leap, because Lane Kiffin is young enough that he can try for another head coaching job. One of the things here, another head coaching job specifically at a bigger conference. One of the things that's interesting here about Lane Kiffin is that people still treat Lane Kiffin like Lane Kiffin is a teenager. Like, the words that get used to describe Lane Kiffin are frat boy. He just doesn't fit the mold, is what a lot of people say, which is like code for we don't know about him. We aren't sure about that level of maturity. Because Lane Kiffin, even this season, has just gone out of his way to troll Tennessee fans, which to me is ridiculous because I don't feel like Vols fans hate Lane Kiffin for no reason, right? Why is he coming after Tennessee? He left. He was the one that left. And by the way, unannounced, when he took the USC job, not a whole lot of people knew he was taking the job. It was speculation. There were players that didn't know when he took the job. Players he recruited that didn't know. People in the assistants to the athletic director who didn't know. Members of the media who cover the Vols all the time, every day, who didn't know. He just up and left. So why does he come after the Vols, right? Like, people are mad at you for leaving. They're mad at you for leaving because you just up and left. You didn't say anything, never mentioned it was a possibility that you could be going anywhere. Just left. And if you're still going to go out of your way to troll a fan base that did nothing to you, if you're going to go out of your way to troll a fan base that you coached them for a year. It's not like it ended in this bad, horrible divorce. You didn't have to go and do that. Like, if you're going out of your way to do that kind of stuff, that does speak to your maturity. You're a grown man. Let it go. Let them go. Like, there's a certain amount of trolling that's acceptable. And then when you reach a certain age, you just stop. Like, Lane Kiffin, you got a family, dude. Stop. Like, just stop. Just stop. So that's where we are with him. He'll be coaching Florida Atlantic, which is interesting because take a look at the recruiters in Florida. He's going to have to try and draw talent from Florida, a place that just added Charlie Strong. Charlie Strong, excellent recruiter, and Charlie Strong's got connections from when he was at U of F down in Florida under Urban Meyer, and from When he was at Louisville, he was still getting guys from Florida. Jim McElwain down at the University of Miami recruiting out of Florida. Or no, Jim McElwain over at the University of Florida recruiting and doing an amazing job. And then Mark Richt down at the University of Miami recruiting out of Florida. Yeah, Lane Kiffin is about to be in a little bit of an interesting situation because now you have to recruit, try and get Florida Atlantic to be a really good school, and do so while recruiting against monsters. Like, going to Florida ought to be a dream as a recruiter, right? Because you could go in there and you've got a lot of talent. You've got a dearth of talent in that state. But everybody is going to be sucking up the talent that's there. Everybody. Good luck. Good luck going into a kid's living room and telling that kid not to choose between McElwain, Richt, Petrino, by the way, who also recruits out of Florida, and Strong. I mean, good luck. Good luck. That's a tough one. I don't know how he's going to do that. I have no clue. But Lane Kiffin is in this situation in large part because he burned bridges and then never, ever got that like image of maturity. And I don't know exactly what it is that he would have had to have done to make that happen, but he didn't do it because people still see him as a quote unquote 41-year-old frat boy. And people can't see you that way and go, yeah, we're going to hand you the keys to the kingdom and say, coach all of these kids and go out there and win football games for us and make us look good. Because we saw what happened at USC with Steve Sarkisian when that doesn't go well. Right? Like Sark proved what happens when that doesn't go well. When a guy literally shows up and acts like a frat boy. Nobody wants a repeat of that. And I'm not saying that Lane Kiffin is Steve Sarkisian, nor am I belittling Sarkisian's problems because he did go to rehab and get help for alcoholism. But what I am saying is people are wary of that kind of look. It doesn't look good. It sets your organization and your school back. You got to go out of your way sometimes to act a little bit more mature than maybe you are. And don't burn bridges. That's just like a life rule. Don't burn bridges. You may not like a person, but you may have to work with them someday. Right? Like people in the radio business, when you try and get guests on your show, you try and treat them with respect and treat them nicely and be fair with them when you ask them questions. Even if you've got to ask hard questions and you've got to be a little bit firm, you've got to try and treat them fairly on the air. You do. Because you could burn a bridge. And what ends up happening if you burn a bridge is sometimes fire spreads. And then you end up burning more bridges than what you thought you were doing. Right? So you don't want to go around doing that. This is just things in life. And even if it's your family, right? You've just got that one aunt and you think she's a little weird. The next time you see her, though, you treat her with respect. You treat her nicely. Why? Because you don't know when you will have to be working with her or living with her or doing something because of for her and or may need her to do something because of for you. You just don't know, so you don't burn bridges. Period. Lane Kiffin burned a few bridges, especially the way he left Tennessee. And then, jumping from USC to the Oakland Raiders, like the way he went about doing those things was not the most professional manner. And it's come back to bite him in the derriere, as these things tend to do. So we've got some more news coming up around the corner. I really am super excited about next season, right? Because this is where we're at. You get news about the next football season because you start thinking about all of these different storylines and, who's improving, who's trending upwards for next season, who's trending downwards, who's probably just stuck in neutral, and what's the story there? Like, there's so many different places that you can go with this kind of thing. And I'm not going to lie. Auburn, to me, stood out as one of those schools that might be stuck in neutral. They might be stuck in neutral. But you know what? Something happened today for the University of Auburn. They might not be stuck in neutral anymore. I'll talk to you about it. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com. We'll talk about the changes happening at Auburn. And SNL pokes a little bit of fun at Alabama and college football in a way that it's a little stupid. Next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
101.1 FM Nooga Radio News. Russell Stroud reporting. Thursday at noon is the time for qualification for the mayor's race, and so far 3 have qualified and 1 is drawing closer. Mayor Andy Burke qualifying for re-election, City Councilman Larry Groen qualifying, and businessman Chris Long qualifying for election as mayor. Former City Councilman and city official David Crockett is hoping to pick up papers but has not yet qualified. He has until Thursday at noon. A UTC football player has been taken into custody after a report of a disturbance at an apartment complex. He's been charged with disorderly conduct, public intoxication, and resisting arrest. Arresting officers say they had to call for emergency backup and that Mr. Pardue was being combative during arrest, swearing and yelling at officers. A crash snarled I-24 on Sunday, killing 1. Another person had to be airlifted to Erlanger Medical Center by Life Force. 3 vehicles, including a tractor-trailer, were involved in this crash. Photos showing the large truck skidding to a halt inside the median. And the Woodmore Fund has begun distribution of funds to the immediate family members of those affected by the Woodmore bus crash.
Expect partly cloudy and cool weather out there through your nighttime. Some light clouds pushing back in, lows near 40. Now for your Tuesday, a few spotty showers for the first half of the day, otherwise mostly cloudy, highs near 55. Drier Wednesday with breezy and much colder weather returning Thursday. The halls are decked at Abba's House Bookstore and Cafe in Hickson. Get a meaningful gift and feel good that the proceeds go to missions. Come check us out in the front lobby of Abba's House in Hickson. For discounts, abbashouse.com/coupon. And I'm Swarm Sheen 12, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
How about we change that to Built in the USA? For over 21 years, Affordable Computers has been building computers right here in the good old USA, in Chattanooga, using the highest quality parts and components in every new computer they build. Tell us the exact system you need, we'll build it to your specifications. Or you can choose from a wide selection of our PCs and laptops, starting at under $200. All Affordable Computers are upgradable, guaranteed. Affordable Computers services their computers in store, typically within 1 to 3 days. And when you call, they answer the phone. You get support within minutes that you can understand. Affordable Computers of Chattanooga. And service and support extends for the life of the computer, not just for the warranty of the PC. So there's no reason to shop anywhere else. Call Affordable Computers now on Highway 58 Chattanooga, 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975.
Or visit our Fort O store, 706-858-5888.
There's a reason why Alliance Physical Therapy is a choice of professionals and those who care about first-class, top-notch service and treatment. Because at Alliance Physical Therapy of Chattanooga, we don't just treat the symptoms in your body. Whether you're suffering from stiffness, muscle spasms, back pain, chronic headaches every day, stress of life demanding more and more of you, Alliance Physical Therapy takes a holistic approach to healing, mind, body, and soul. Alliance Physical Therapy with a location near you and 9 others in the Chattanooga area. If you don't have a doctor or if your physician's plan for chronic pain is not working, Alliance Physical Therapy will help. Visit Alliance Physical Therapy on the web at nopainpt.com. That's nopainpt.com. Alliance Physical Therapy.
Cash, and more cash. Hey, where do you think Santa shops? Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. He made a special stop to tell Rick, slash those prices 50 to 70%. Ooh, ho, ho. That's right. Get 50 to 70% off right now for Christmas at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Even Rick's not going to say no to Santa. No. Don't wait till after Christmas. It'll be way too late. Get your cash right now for your gold, your silver, your diamonds, and jewelry. And and save 50 to 70% off. On a $100 item, it's only $30. On a $1,000 item, $300. Has Rick gone mad?
Well, maybe a little.
No, we think he's just Christmassy. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. 50% off right now. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. You know where it is. Hey, is that Santa? Cash, 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 and more cash.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
You're listening to Nooga Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com. You know, I like good humor as much as anybody, but I still think that there are certain jokes that if you don't take the time to understand the joke, what ends up happening is you end up perpetuating certain stereotypes. And I'm not a fan, right? But here's the thing. Stereotypes serve a purpose. Let me just start there. Stereotypes serve a purpose. Everybody stereotypes. We all stereotype. I stereotype. You stereotype. Everybody does. Okay. You just make general assumptions on people based on certain characteristics, which is fine when those, not even people, just things, right? Which is fine when those things that you are assuming are not bad for you, right? Like if you assume all snakes are poisonous, right? You saw a rattlesnake once, a rattlesnake bit a guy, the guy died. And so then you assume all snakes are poisonous. That's not a bad thing to assume. What it does ensure is that you will probably be not bitten by a poisonous snake because you're just going to avoid all snakes, right? When you assume something about black people or Mexican people, when you start making those kinds of assumptions, then it gets dangerous because you are starting to treat people like the problems you associate with them rather than people. And those people may not have those problems. So you can't do that. It becomes a very dangerous game to play. So a thing came up on my Google Alerts feed because I have Alabama on my Google Alerts. I have all the SEC teams on my Google Alerts. So it comes up and it goes, oh, look, here is John Cena on SNL poking fun at Alabama. And then when I clicked on it, it was a Huffington Post article, which just makes me mad that I gave them a click. Because Huffington Post, of course, worded their headline as such: John Cena and SNL hilariously take down Alabama football. And that's where we're gonna stop right there. What do you mean hilariously take down Alabama football? What do you mean take down Alabama football? Because in the sketch, right, John Cena is an SNL Alabama football player, and as an Alabama football player, he is talking to the group of teachers who are grading his project, and he's saying that he takes academics incredibly seriously, And when they all present their projects, you've got somebody who's their project is about quantum entanglement. Meanwhile, John Cena, as the Alabama player, has some bananas nailed to plywood. That is his project that he is presenting, and he is presenting all these different kinds of bananas. And the committee that is looking at his project just continues to praise him and applaud him because he is a football player. One of the committee members has their faces painted in crimson and white. And they're just giving the other students bad marks because they're not football players and we expect more from you. Is this the takedown of Alabama that you're referring to? That college athletics can sometimes supersede academics? Because first off, that's not restricted simply to Alabama. Secondly, football players especially are incredibly intelligent people. So this idea that athletes are stupid, I don't like it. That's a stereotype I don't like. But the one that probably bothers me the most is that people in the South are stupid, which never is overtly said, but he's speaking in a Southern accent and he's just a little bit dumb, right? You just get that sense there. And the other two students who are also apparently University of Alabama students in the sketch, they have no accent. And John Cena doesn't have one, naturally. John Cena's not from the South. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, now you're assuming something about Southerners that's not fair, nor does it make any sense, even inside the universe of your sketch. Okay? People from the South are people. This is what happens with stereotypes. This is where they get dangerous when you just describe because you hear an accent and you just think it sounds a certain way or whatever. This is the kind of stuff that people start thinking, and they don't realize they're thinking it until they start thinking it for real. You can't have those kinds of stuff without that explanation. And it's just a little bit. It's just a little joke, but like when you start going to sites like Huffington Post and the headline is John Cena and SNL hilariously take down Alabama football, like this is doing America some kind of favor, informing people about the dangers of athletics and academics mixing, as though they didn't have a million other choices, like, I don't know, the University of North Carolina or Syracuse University, where there actually were fake classes set up for student athletes to apply for and then never show up to. Plenty of options to choose from. But you don't want to choose those. Because Alabama would be funnier to make fun of. That's really what it is. And that's the way you want to go with it, then that's the way you're going to go with it. But then I'm telling you right now, you're perpetuating ridiculous stereotypes about people. In this case, people from the South, who, as I've lived here, are perfectly nice, perfectly kind, and in a lot of and most instances, highly intelligent individuals that I've met. So no, I don't agree with that kind of thing. And it's just weird that we just do that, and it's all good and it's all fine, it's all cool. This is not being thin-skinned, because I didn't grow up here. Okay, I came here for college. But stereotypes are stereotypes, and when you joke about them in a certain way, I think that you should be called on it for being ridiculous. Okay, and not given a pat on the back for taking down Alabama athletics. I mean, that's just silly. Especially since when you look at the numbers and Alabama football players, there were 9 Alabama football players before the beginning of last season that already had their bachelor's degree and were working on their master's while playing football, which is not easy to do. I imagine that if you had to go back to school and try and go through college at the same time you had to memorize a phone book-sized playbook, that wouldn't be very easy for you to do also. I'm just going to go out on a limb. I think you guys just, and I say you guys, I mean really the media, I don't know if they think that people just collide for 60 minutes. That's all they do. They just collide and then they chase a ball around. Football players have to be highly intelligent people. Okay, and a college student working on their master's degree at the University of Alabama would also have to be an incredibly intelligent person. But anyway, you're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. It's AM 1240 that you're listening to, and Noogaradio.com. Unless you went out and did yourself a favor and followed my advice and got the TuneIn Radio app, which is free in whatever app store you use. There is no good reason. There is no good reason. You need it. So Auburn was one of those schools that I thought you're stuck in neutral. Because when you get to the end of the college football season, you start to see some teams. Some teams are trending up. Some teams are trending down. And some teams are stuck in neutral. Like, I think we can all agree Tennessee might be stuck in neutral. Florida looks like it might be trending up. It's a little hard to tell where Georgia is. Georgia, by rights, ought to be trending up, but I can't tell. Not yet, right? Alabama's stuck in neutral, but stuck in neutral when you're the number one team in the nation is not a bad place to be, right? That's as good as that's going to get. I suppose you could be even more destructive, score even more points, be an even more smothering defense. Yeah, you could be all of those things. That's also possible, but I definitely don't see a decline in Alabama. LSU could be trending upwards. It's hard to tell. Arkansas probably stuck in neutral. They are what they are. I thought Auburn was one of those stuck in neutral schools. But Jarrett Stidham, the former quarterback of the University of Baylor, transferring out of Baylor and transferring to Auburn. And Jarrett Stidham, to me, immediately takes Auburn and has them trending upward. Immediately. Because he's everything that they want. When you look at what Jarrett Stidham is capable of doing, he's everything an Auburn offense requires. You need to be able to throw the ball. You need to be able to throw the ball accurately. But you also need to be a mobile football player, a runner as well. And Jarrett Stidham is both of those things. He's a very accurate passer. And as a runner, he's amazing. He's incredibly fast. So you can start to run some of those read option things that Gus Malzahn really wants to run at Auburn, but really can't because he doesn't have a quarterback that can do all of those things. But on those days that you had Jeremy Johnson passing his best, great, by the way, it's still highly inaccurate everywhere. I mean, the deep ball for him is kind of nice, but like that middle to short stuff, he can't do that very well, and he still can't do it very well. So there's a limit to how far you can go with Jeremy Johnson. There's also a limit to how far you can go with Sean White, who is a better passer, but a worse runner. And what you have in Jarrett Stidham is the best of both worlds. A guy who can pass at all three levels. He is more accurate. He is also a very good runner. He protects the football, and he makes good decisions with the football. He makes Auburn an automatic contender. Instantly, because there was nothing really wrong with Auburn's defense. Auburn's defense is fine. Everything that was wrong with Auburn was on the offensive side of the football. They could never really seem to get it going, starting from the beginning of the season when Gus Malzahn thought he was going to be some kind of tactician, and he was just changing guys in and out of the game at will. Just, hey, Sean White, it's first down, your turn. It was a train wreck from the beginning, but I can understand the reason why Gus would do something like that. I mean, I think it's stupid that he would do something like that, but I can understand why you would feel the desperation of having to do something like that, which is that you have an offense that requires your quarterback do two things well, and you have a bunch of quarterbacks who only do one thing well. This is huge for Auburn. Impact recruiting in a number of ways, because now you can start pitching the idea that, like, we're not building up from anything. We're kind of already there. We've got a defense that's good enough. It's not a world-beating defense, but it's a very good defense. an offense that when it works is prolific, right? Like, because when we saw Auburn at their best this season, they could score in bunches. They could hang with anybody, right? Even on the day where they played LSU in arguably the most depressing game of the season, you still see flashes of Auburn's ability to score points. And just like they were saved by Cam Newton transferring in ages ago, and it just could be that's the Auburn problem, right? Like, you just have trouble finding a guy as a freshman that could really come in and give you a hand. Just like Cam Newton transferring in 2010, this Jarrett Stidham edition really gives them a boost. And I'm not comparing Jarrett Stidham to Cam in any particular category, but I will say this: Jarrett Stidham as a college quarterback is more accurate than Cam as a college quarterback. He is more accurate, hands down. And so this changes up a lot of things in the SEC. It really does. It does make the SEC West that much more difficult. It makes the West that much stronger. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, when is the East going to get some big time college quarterback transfer? Because they could really use that shot in the arm over there. But as far as the West goes, it's going to make things just a little bit tougher. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and Nooga Radio. Want to jump back to the coaching carousel conversation really quickly because Lane Kiffin, he did something. I don't think he did it on purpose, but he did something right. Lane Kiffin was the offensive coordinator at Alabama, and there was a talk, a lot of rumors especially, that he might jump to LSU and be the offensive coordinator over there. Well, now he's not in play over at LSU. So now LSU is shuffling to get to plan B. Alabama's going to have to replace Kiffin. I don't know who they're going to replace him with. And the race is kind of on between those two schools to try and figure out what they're going to do at offensive coordinator. I think this is actually important for Alabama. What wasn't important before? Alabama could take any offense and make it work. But now that they've committed to that spread attack, now that works in the best interest of Jalen Hurts and the rest of that offense, I feel like you have to commit to the spread. Because you've got a guy who can run it, and he runs it well, and he's only getting better, and he's a freshman. Right? So who do you get to replace Lane Kiffin? Because you wanted that were out there were Major Applewhite over at Houston, now head coach. Jeff Brom was at Western Kentucky. He's coaching at Purdue. And, of course, Willie Taggart, who would I don't know. Like, Willie Taggart was never going to be, jumping to be an OC. But you had guys that could have really been big-time offensive guys mentally, right? And now you're looking around and you're like, well, you've got options, right? Like, Saturday Down South has got a little write-up on it. Matt Canada over at Pitt, he's a guy he's the big splashy OC hire that you could see, right? He's gotten a conference championship before. He's led Pitt's offense to 42 points per game. The run-pass balance is nice. If you're one of those people that you're just like, look, you gotta have a balance. Like, I'm sure Bama fans would love Matt Canada because you're not going to have games where you only run the ball once in a half at Alabama, no less. You're not going to have those kinds of games. You're going to have a better balance in the two, right? If you really want to take a gamble and be a little dicey with it, Mark Helfrich is not a bad hire, right? Like, is Mark Helfrich at Oregon? The problem with Mark Helfrich, in my opinion, at Oregon was the recruiting. That was this big problem. Mark Helfrich was at Oregon, and what is the big deal about recruiting at Oregon? You don't have any talent in Oregon. If you want to recruit for Oregon, you've got to go into California and recruit. You've got no talent. But Helfrich as a coach, and offensively speaking, I don't think he did a bad job. And here's how you know this. When he had Chip Kelly's talent, Oregon was still good when he had that level of talent. So once the talent dipped off, and Mark Helfrich can't do anything. But that's college football. Like, you can't do anything without talent in college football anyway. Like, you're not going to get a whole lot of schools that are just out there winning despite being really bad. Mark Helfrich could be a very good fit for LSU or Alabama. I don't know exactly what they're going to do about it, and I don't know if necessarily what Helfrich does works in the SEC. But in terms of having a guy who mentally has a very good awareness of the spread attack, because I think if you're LSU, I think that you should head that way as well. If you've got a good knowledge and base in the spread attack, it's going to give you an option to widen out some of these defenses, right? And it's not as prolific, and it's not going to be as devastating as it was 6-7 years ago when it first really got introduced. But once it's here, you have to acknowledge it. And if a guy can run that really well in college football at a very elite level, those guys are harder and harder to find, because the guys that can do it really well, those guys have jobs. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com. Talk about the Tennessee Titans and the Atlanta Falcons coming up in the next hour. Stick around.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Truex Jr. is off the pace, and he is headed to the pit lane. Elliott Powers around the outside. Michael McDowell pops the right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the bottom. Blaney blocks him off too. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Hot News Talk 1240. The voice of NASCAR.
Is your career taking you where you want to go? If not, talk to Covenant Group Insurance, especially if you like helping people. Call and learn how you can work for yourself, but not by yourself. Intense but free training, plus a fantastic lead program, plus office support equals your success, your prosperity. Gross at least $75,000 your first year selling insurance. Call Steve or Jada for a confidential interview. That's 855-8484. Maybe the most important call you'll make all year.
Looking for a dream home, or maybe you're just a first-time home buyer? Let an agent get you started today on your house search. If you're a real estate agent looking for a change, see what Exit can do for you. The agents at Exit Realty Scenic City are confident they can sell your house. They can do it in 99 days or less. If no one works harder for you than agents at Exit Realty Scenic City, licensed in Tennessee and Georgia. Exit sells quickly all types of commercial and residential properties and vacant land. Looking for a dream home, or maybe you're just a first-time home buyer? Let an agent get you started today on your house search. If you're a real estate agent looking for a change, see what Exit can do for you. Training, technology, branding, culture, and financial freedom. Again, Exit Realty Scenic City. Call 423-551-EXIT to learn more. Call 423-551-EXIT and learn more.
Terms and restrictions may apply. And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
At Eyer Optical, it's a well-known fact. When you buy one pair of glasses, you get a second pair absolutely free. But did you know Eyer Optical has the largest eyeglass selection in the area, with top-name brands and styles in the latest trends? Schedule your appointment with one of the doctors today for a comprehensive eye exam. And remember, when you buy one pair of glasses, you get a second pair absolutely free. Visit EyerOptical.com for a location near you.
Eyer Optical. Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mention you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas. You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation, 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy. Chattanooga.
Pre-election Russian cyber hacking gets the attention of the White House and Congress.
Russia was engaged in malicious cyber activity.
Any foreign breach of our cybersecurity measures is disturbing.
NFL players with concussions can receive benefits after the Supreme Court denies a challenge to a $1 billion agreement.
This agreement is now effective, and the benefits process will finally move forward.
This is the CBS World News Roundup, late edition. I'm Dave Barrett. The Senate Majority Leader minced no words.
The Russians are not our friends.
And now there will be more focus on cyber hacking efforts that took place before the election. Here's correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
Senate Leader Mitch McConnell today endorsed a congressional probe. GOP colleague John McCain calls interfering in an election another form of warfare.
My campaign in 2008 was hacked into, so there's no doubt about the hacking. Then the question is about the intention.
CIA believes the Russians hacked and leaked Democrats' emails to benefit Donald Trump Here at the White House, spokesman Josh Earnest says that shouldn't surprise the president-elect.
He called on Russia to hack his opponent.
But Mr. Trump says it's ridiculous to think the Russians acted on his behalf, and his spokeswoman, Kellyanne Conway, notes Mr. Trump isn't even sure it was the Russians at all.
It could be, but we don't know that, and that's his entire point.
Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, the White House.
The election held 5 weeks ago tomorrow, and now recounts in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are done. Donald Trump won Wisconsin by nearly 23,000 votes, and a federal judge rejected a request by Green Party candidate Jill Stein to recount paper ballots in Pennsylvania. Counting up the numbers behind the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter aircraft, the program cost nearly $400 billion. President-elect Trump says too much. Lockheed Martin makes that jet, and Jeff Babione is the project's general manager. He saw a couple of F-15s land in Israel today, that country's first delivery.
Whoever has this airplane will have the most advanced Air Force in the world. That's why it's important to not only the U.S., our partners, and our partners like the Israeli Air Force to have this airplane.
A deal the NFL had made with players would pay benefits far into the future to those who suffered concussions on the field.
It's a shot to the head, too. Right. Helmet to helmet.
Over the next 65 years, 20,000 players may take advantage of this billion-dollar agreement because the Supreme Court has refused to hear a challenge to it. Retired players' lawyer Christopher Seeger.
They can have peace of mind knowing that the settlement's benefits will finally become available to them and will last for decades to come.
Andrew Cohen is CBS News senior legal analyst.
Clearly, the justices wanted no part of getting involved in this dispute at this time or undoing what was a heavily negotiated, lawyered-up deal.
And on Wall Street today, it's another record close for the Dow, which gained 39 points to close at 19,796. Now this.
I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans. Mortgage rates have dropped again. In fact, recently, mortgage rates have dropped to the second lowest level in history. Now is the time for you to take advantage of these historically low rates and save serious money every month by refinancing your mortgage. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is all the way down to 4.125%. APR, 4.82%. Call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN to see how far we can lower your mortgage payment. For 6 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the third year, they also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. It's a great time to refinance with Quicken Loans and save hundreds every month. This ultra-low rate of 4.125% won't last long. So call 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That's 800-QUICKEN.
Visit jdpower.com for award information. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Week 2 of testimony in Charleston, South Carolina. What other plans might Dylan Roof have had?
I'm Jim Crisula. A state investigator has testified in the federal death penalty trial of Dylan Roof that the alleged Charleston church shooter had a list of other area black churches in his car. Roof also had phone numbers for the South Carolina State House complex and information about one of the founders of the historic Emmanuel AME Church.
Legal action to stop new rules about to kick in Texas. Dan Raviv?
Joining with clinics and companies that provide abortions in Texas, the Center for Reproductive Rights filed suit in federal court asking to block a new rule from the state's Department of Health that would require that a fetus or embryonic tissue be buried or cremated after a miscarriage or an abortion.
Opioid addiction in newborns is up, according to a new University of Michigan study, which shows nearly 8 in 1,000 babies born in 2015.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Here's what advertisers are saying about AM 1240. HotNewsTalkRadio.com.
Radio station, they really care. They're always calling me probably once a week, checking on me, seeing how things going, see if they want to change any of the ads or do anything different, seeing what my needs are. Gotten business off the ads that you do for me, and seems to be working well at this point.
Prices were very fair. Areas in this town that we aren't able to get other ways, your radio station is able to help us out, and I really appreciate that.
We've been very pleased with the services we've got. It seems like everybody over there cares about
about what they're going to do, how it's going to work for us on this end. And we've been very impressed with the creativity of the ads that we've heard. And they always seem to be right on point, even without us having to come up with what's going to be said.
I've been doing business with News Talk Radio for quite some time. It's the best place and the best value you can get for your advertisement. The commercials are great. They're very professional. I was actually blown away.
The commercial that they put together was awesome. It was way far above all the other radio stations we've dealt with. The best we've had yet, guarantee you, by far.
AM 1240 HotNewsTalkRadio.com gets results. Let us get results for your business. For no obligation free consultation, call General Sales Manager Steve Johnson. Call 423-240-5459. That's 240-5459. Or you can always email Steve at NoogaRadioSteve@gmail.com. That's NoogaRadioSteve@gmail.com. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We get results.
You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me. It's hour 2 of the show, which means it's time to talk about the Tennessee Titans. Good day and bad day for the Titans. Specifically, good day, a bad day for Marcus Mariota. On the one hand, you get the dub, right? That's what counts. That's what we all pay attention to in sports. But on the other hand, this is a win that will go towards Marcus Mariota's record. Well, we talk about, this quarterback's got such and such a record, even though I don't know that counting quarterback individual records tells you how good a quarterback is or isn't. Quarterbacks get the victories, and when they win, we pay attention to them, and when they lose, we kill them, even if they haven't played all that poorly. Marcus Mariota played really bad yesterday. Really, really bad yesterday. And he got a victory out of it. Think about that. He played horribly yesterday. Got a victory out of it. Marcus Mariota, 6 for 20, 88 yards, no touchdowns. And that is the worst day for a quarterback that has gotten a win ever. In as long as people have been playing football, that is the worst day for a quarterback that has gotten a win. Because usually you play like that, you don't get wins. Okay? And it's hilarious because, opposed to that, right, is Trevor Siemian, who had been playing below average football at a certain point in the season, and then he got injured, and then he's come back. Trevor Siemian, 334 yards and a touchdown. My thing is, though, that jumped off the page in my face when I watched the Broncos stats is Trevor Siemian threw the ball 51 times? What? Wow. I mean, you must really need him. And you got monster days out of Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. He threw the ball 51 times. Trevor Siemian threw the ball 51 times. I'm not talking about Ben Roethlisberger. I'm talking about Trevor Siemian, who threw the ball 51 times. And despite that, and despite the fact that Demaryius Thomas had 126 yards, despite the fact that Emmanuel Sanders had 100 yards, they somehow managed to keep both of those guys out of the end zone for multiple times. I mean, it's incredible. The Titans beat the Broncos 13-10, scoring 10 points in the fourth quarter were the Denver Broncos, and it just wasn't enough. But that's 3 goose eggs for the first 3 quarters for the Broncos. The Titans did an amazing job defensively. And I just want to say this, because I don't mind eating a little bit of crow. I have been on Mike Mularkey's case this entire season. And I still am on his case a little bit. I still don't trust it. But Mike Mularkey has done a good job with the Titans. One thing that Mike Mularkey really does really well is he runs the football, which the Titans got a lead early. They got 10 points in the first quarter. They kicked that field goal in the second, and they sat on it. And nothing is better for sitting on a lead than running the football. And between Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray, you had 21 carries for Murray. You had 12 for Henry. And then, of course, you had the 8 runs for Marcus Mariota, some of which were designed. So you've got guys carrying the football, running the clock out, and they're not going to be one of those teams that's just going to get reckless with it. And it's it's an amazing effort when you consider the team they were playing against, right? Because Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, that's a tough cover. It's a tough cover when it's one of those guys. Both? That's a tough cover. And they managed to do that on the worst day of Marcus Mariota's entire career. This is not something that you need to get used to if you're a Titans fan. 6 of 20 for 88 yards is not something that will be happening for Marcus Mariota very often. He has been freakishly accurate his entire career. I was talking about it on Twitter. His whole career, he has been a very accurate passer of the football. The job yesterday that they did defensively, is incredibly impressive. It's absolutely impressive. I'm impressed with the job that Mike Mularkey is doing. I cannot possibly fathom how it is that he is doing it. Okay, there wasn't anybody yesterday receiving for the Titans that caught more than 2 passes. Delaney Walker caught 2 passes. He caught 2 passes for 30 yards. That's incredible. Right? Like the longest passing play for the Titans was 26 yards. That is darn near unbelievable, which also means that the defense stepped up in a huge way. If you're the Titans and you can get your defense to do that, and I understand that the Broncos are not exactly a prolific offense, right? Like Trevor Siemian is not the greatest quarterback in the world. But Trevor Siemian was 35 of 51 for 334 yards. It's not like he wasn't picking up yardage. He just wasn't able to get into the end zone. Trevor Siemian went out and had himself a very good day. The Broncos just weren't able to punch it in. And so when it comes to the race in the AFC South, the Titans very, very, very much in this thing. Right? Like that's something that I did not expect to be able to say at this point in the season. I thought that, early on in the season, I thought, well, Tennessee's got a very good chance to win the AFC South. And they were playing kind of so-so football, but it just didn't seem like anybody's going to be able to top the Colts in this division because barring an Andrew Luck injury, the Colts have the best offense. And it is all luck, right? Like the Colts are not exactly a good, well-rounded football team either. They are also bad, but I couldn't believe how well they played yesterday against the defending Super Bowl champions, even when you had a horrible day for Marcus Mariota. And again, that's not something that you should expect. And that defense that Denver has over there, that is an amazing defense as well. But the accuracy of Marcus Mariota is one of the things that has them very, very much where they are. That they rely very heavily on the accuracy of Marcus Mariota. So no, color me impressed by the Titans' performance and a good bounce back game for the Falcons. They played the Rams. I don't think that winning that game was particularly in jeopardy for them because it is the Rams. But there is something to know that when you show up in a team's gym and go, you know what? We're supposed to beat you, so we're not just going to beat you. We're going to whoop you. We are just going to stomp you to smithereens. There's a morale boost there. And the Falcons could use a morale boost after getting punched in the gut a week ago by the Chiefs. They could use the morale boost. And they got it. They from the opening snap, from the opening kickoff, were better than the Rams. And they got after Jared Goff all day, and Jared Goff looks horrible under pressure. I mean, the dude just looks lost. And I want to like Jared Goff. There's nothing about that guy in terms of tangible weapons that I don't like. I like his arm. In college, I thought that his decision-making was good in college. You know, but it's difficult to tell how those air raid guys are going to transfer to the NFL. But that being said, all of those things that stood out in college, specifically the throwing accuracy, his deep ball accuracy, his arm, and his toughness, like his ability to just take hits and keep on going like some kind of Terminator, was insane. And you figure, okay, well, he's going to the Rams. The Rams aren't good. The offensive line is a dumpster fire. He's going to be behind an offensive line that's not very good. He's going to get hit and knocked around very frequently, and he's going to have to take it. This is not a bad pick for them. And then they picked him, and let me tell you something. I don't know if that organization's made a bigger mistake. Right? And I don't think that they could have known that. I don't think that's something that they could have learned, because that's not something that any of us knew. Like I was saying earlier in the show, that's not something that anybody knew. Everybody plays this hindsight is 2020 game where we all want to jump on the Rams for drafting a guy and going, well, you should have known he couldn't play. If a billion other teams were in the Rams' position, they would have taken Jared Goff. What makes this only somewhat humorous is that it was the Rams who swapped picks with the Redskins and got, you know, a number of useful draft picks in exchange for the number 2 overall pick, which the Redskins used on Robert Griffin III. And the Rams gave up a bunch of picks that no doubt will be used to get a number of NFL players, and we'll be talking about those NFL players and where they are in their careers for the rest of time because of the Jared Goff pick, especially if Jared Goff ends up not working out, which we are not on the path to working out. Working out is on the other side. We're looking at a guy who is standing in serious bust territory. Because I'm looking at Jared Goff, and it's not something where I'm like, okay, it's not like this guy isn't trying or putting in effort or isn't studying. He's just lost. Like, he's just not ready for this. And the Falcons took him to task, beat him up, jumped into passing lanes that I feel like you play any other quarterback, you don't even bother to jump those routes because you're not sure. Jared Goff is operating on the most basic level of quarterbacking, and it's not good enough for the NFL. And the reason that they didn't want to put Jared Goff into any games was for that reason. Like, you want to know, well, why don't they just play Goff? That's why. He can't play. Now, it's one of those things where you're like, well, he might eventually one day be able to play, but as of this moment, Jared Goff can't play. He's not good. And if you're the Falcons, like, when you have some of the losses that they had this season and you need to make sure that you're staying atop in the NFC, because here come those Buccaneers. Here come those Buccaneers as they beat the Saints yesterday. You need to stay atop in the NFC South. If you're the Falcons, you need every win you could get. I assure you that one was underlined on the schedule. Underlined. Oh, yeah, we can take out Jared Goff. Woof. Woof. And they did it. I mean, they got after that guy, and he looked horrible. Like, here's the thing. His numbers don't read as bad as Mariota's numbers, but he looked worse. He looked worse. Like, from just a pure eye test, he looked demonstrably worse. You know, something I am mad about from that game, though, is that Todd Gurley got a couple of garbage time touchdowns, and you know, fantasy football being what it is, Todd Gurley, of course, is not on my team. He is on the other team. And who would ever bet on Todd Gurley getting a couple of touchdowns in a fantasy football game? I didn't lose, but it's a closer game than it needs to be. And my opponent's got Brady tonight. It's a closer game than it needs to be. That's all I'm saying. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com. It's funny because when you talk about the Rams job, since we're on the subject of the Rams, who's going to take that job? Who is going to take that job? Like, there's two jobs in the NFL you don't touch. Well, most people don't touch. Like, I think if you are a person and you plan on having a long, good career as a coach, depending on your age, you don't touch the Browns job. You don't touch the Rams job. You don't ever do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Hugh Jackson touched the Browns job, and it looks like it's killing him on the inside. I watched little pieces of that man's soul die a little bit more with every single week that he's forced to go out there and coach this bunch of losers. So that's why you don't ever take the Browns job. And the Rams job is just as toxic. It is just as toxic. Like, that organization is full of nothing. Just an absolutely ridiculous situation. And I heard a rumor. The LA Rams want to get Jim Harbaugh. The LA Rams want to get Jim Harbaugh. Now, at first I was thinking about it, and I was like, that's not bad. Like, if you're Jim Harbaugh, wouldn't it be cool? Get your shot back in the NFL? Sounds like a really good idea. And then I was reading CBS Sports earlier today, and then I realized, like, I think that's actually a horrible idea. I don't know. But here's the thing. Here's why it's a horrible idea. This is from Robbie Colland of CBS Sports, and he wrote 4 reasons why Jim Harbaugh won't leave Michigan for the Rams. One reason was that he already makes an alarming amount of money. He already makes NFL head coach money. He is about to be the highest paid college football coach, $9 million this year. And then he's going to make $7 million per season through 2021, beginning next year. Jeff Fisher made $7 million a year, and he was among the NFL's highest paid coaches. So in order to get Jim Harbaugh to go coach the Rams, you would have to pay him at least that much. Plus, you know, buy out his contract and all that stuff probably. So then you've got that. Number 2, he's already scratched the NFL itch. The NFL itch is the thing that coaches do in college where they're like, I don't know if I could coach in the NFL. I'd love to try it. I'd love for that to see how that works out. Nick Saban scratched the NFL itch. Chip Kelly didn't scratch the NFL itch so much as he escaped NCAA violations coming down on his head. But he's here now. And so the itch is scratched. But he may want to come back one day. Chip Kelly might want to try and give that another go if he ever returns to college and he's got a couple of successful college football seasons, and then people forget that the whole NFL thing didn't go as well as it probably could have gone. Chip Kelly might make a jump and come back, presumably, right? You only scratch the NFL itch when you're not successful in the NFL. Well, Jim Harbaugh was successful in the NFL. He got to a Super Bowl, and the only way he would have been more successful is if he had won said Super Bowl, right? Which, you know, he's in college now. He's a contender for a national championship every single season. And Michigan is his alma mater. You're telling me you wouldn't bring a title back for your alma mater? Yeah, Harbaugh's not going anywhere. And, of course, college football is better because Jim Harbaugh is a guy, he's very intense. And he's got this reputation of being a person that can wear on you. He wore on staff. He wore on players. He wore on everybody. Well, you know what? Every 4 years, all those players are gone and you have new players. So if you have trouble with Jim Harbaugh, you're not there and looking at your contract and going, man, I got 5 more years with this guy. You don't have that. And, of course, he's at Michigan. He's at Michigan. That's one of those schools where you're just like, no, he's at Michigan. He's not leaving. He's at Alabama. He's not leaving. He's at Texas. He's not leaving. He is in Southern California, and he is not leaving. Those are the 4 schools to me. If you say a guy is coaching there, he's probably not leaving. Why? Why would you ever? So there's that. But, man, that Rams situation opened up right quick and made some very, very interesting things happen. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on Noogaradio.com and AM 1240. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. We'll get into a little bit of basketball next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
101.1 FM Nooga Radio News. Russell Stroud reporting. Thursday at noon is the time for qualification for the mayor's race, and so far 3 have qualified and 1 is drawing closer. Mayor Andy Burke qualifying for re-election, City Councilman Larry Groen qualifying, and businessman Chris Long qualifying for election as mayor. Former City Councilman and city official David Crockett is hoping to pick up papers, but has not yet qualified. He has until Thursday at noon. A UTC football player has been taken into custody after a report of a disturbance at an apartment complex. He's been charged with disorderly conduct, public intoxication, and resisting arrest. Arresting officers say they had to call for emergency backup and that Mr. Pardue was being combative during arrest, swearing and yelling at officers. A crash snarled I-24 on Sunday, killing 1. Another person had to be airlifted to Erlanger Medical Center by Life Force. 3 vehicles, including a tractor-trailer, were involved in this crash. Photos showing the large truck skidding to a halt inside a median. And the Woodmore Fund has begun distribution of funds to the immediate family members of those affected by the Woodmore bus crash.
Expect partly cloudy and cool weather out there through your nighttime. Some light clouds pushing back in, lows near 40. Now for your Tuesday, a few spotty showers for the first half of the day. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, highs near 55. Drier Wednesday with breezy and much colder weather returning Thursday. The halls are decked at Abba's House Bookstore and Cafe in Hickson. Get a meaningful gift and feel good that the proceeds go to missions. Come check us out in the front lobby of Abba's House in Hickson. For discounts, abbashouse.com/coupon. And I'm Swarm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ford.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
How about we change that to built in the USA? For over 21 years, Affordable Computers has been building computers right here in the good old USA, in Chattanooga, using the highest quality parts and components in every new computer they build. Tell us the exact system you need, we'll build it to your specifications. Or you can choose from a wide selection of our PCs and laptops, starting at under $200. All Affordable Computers are upgradable, guaranteed. Affordable Computers services their computers in store, typically within 1 to 3 days. And when you call, they answer the phone. You get support within minutes that you can understand. Affordable Computers of Chattanooga. And service and support extends for the life of the computer, not just for the warranty of the PC. So there's no reason to shop anywhere else. Call Affordable Computers now on Highway 58 Chattanooga, 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975.
Or visit our Fort O store, 706-858-5888.
There's a reason why Alliance Physical Therapy is a choice of professionals and those who care about first-class, top-notch service and treatment. Because at Alliance Physical Therapy of Chattanooga, we don't just treat the symptoms in your body. Whether you're suffering from stiffness, muscle spasms, back pain, chronic headaches every day, stress of life demanding more and more of you, Alliance Physical Therapy takes a holistic approach to healing, mind, body, and soul. Alliance Physical Therapy with a location near you and 9 others in the Chattanooga area. If you don't have a doctor or if your physician's plan for chronic pain is not working, Alliance Physical Therapy will help. Visit Alliance Physical Therapy on the web at nopainpt.com. That's nopainpt.com. Alliance Physical Therapy.
Cash, and more cash. Hey, where do you think Santa shops? Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. He made a special stop to tell Rick, slash those prices 50 to 70%. Ooh, ho, ho. That's right. Get 50 to 70% off right now for Christmas at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Even Rick's not going to say no to Santa. No. Don't wait till after Christmas. It'll be way too late. Get your cash right now for your gold, your silver, your diamonds, and jewelry, and save 50 to 70% off. On a $100 item, it's only $30. On a $1,000 item, $300. Has Rick gone mad?
Well, maybe a little.
No, we think he's just Christmassy. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, 50% off right now. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. You know where it is. Hey, is that Santa? Cash, and more cash.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Monday Night Football tonight. Ravens and Patriots, and we will spend some time there. But let's talk a little bit of hoops, because I caught some bits and pieces from around college basketball over the weekend, and Grayson Allen, that guy's a beast. No, okay. So here's the thing about Duke. We already knew Duke was good, but they played UNLV on Saturday night. And I mean, Grayson Allen was considered to be a preseason contender for Player of the Year and looks every single bit the part. That guy is a complete college basketball player, right? And I don't know how well Grayson Allen's going to do at the next level, at the NBA level, which, feels a little bit unfair to have to bring that up into the conversation. But it is part of the conversation, because if Grayson Allen could have been, right, like a number one overall pick type player, then he would be. Like, he would have gone already. But he stayed. So now you're a year older, you're a bit bigger than some of the other incoming freshmen that are coming in that are supposed to be stars, and you are just crushing everyone. And it's hard to gauge how good you'll be at that next level, because the gap between you and everybody else physically is pretty wide. But with that said, the things that Grayson Allen does, you can't teach a guy to do, okay? He already's got a shot. He's complete in terms of his ability to score. He can shoot threes, long jumpers. He can get to the basket. He plays above the rim. He had a dunk over UNLV. It was a putback dunk. The ball was floating up there, And it didn't look like anybody would have been able to get it. And Grayson Allen comes thundering down the lane, grabs the ball, and yanks it into the basket. And basically has to hang on so that he wouldn't fall over. I have not seen athleticism like that really, truly, honestly displayed with that level of aggression and anger from a Duke player before. Okay, Duke is the school that they look like they're going to meticulously rip you to pieces, right? Like Jabari Parker is more Duke to me. Jabari Parker is athletic, really good player in the NBA right now, really good with the Bucks, but Grayson Allen is playing angry. I don't know if I've ever seen a Duke player play angry. Not in a while. Physically, he's got all the tools. And he looks like the best player in the nation right now. Right? Like he very easily looks like he could be player of the year. And if Duke is able to make it to a national title, like the MVP of that team this season, because there's no good reason to believe that Duke's not a national title team. I mean, this team on paper ought to be there. Right? And I understand you don't play the games on paper in December, but I'm saying when you watch the team play, they squash everyone that they run into, and he is the linchpin for it all. There isn't anybody playing better basketball than him right this moment. I mean, you can make some strong cases for a number of guys, but at this exact moment, he is consistently just dominant. And he looks really healthy, right? Had to deal with some injury stuff, but right now he's coming to form, and it is incredible to watch. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on NoogaRadio.com and AM 1240. So, Kentucky. I've got a problem with Kentucky. Kentucky is number 6 in the AP poll. Kentucky is 9-1. And look, they're beating teams bad. But I mean, the other night they played Hofstra. And I can't tell you anything about Hofstra. I'm not even going to pretend. I can't tell you anything about that school. But they played Hofstra the other night. My point is this. Is Kentucky actually a good basketball team? Because I'm not sure. Kentucky can't really shoot threes very well. Right? Even in the game against Hofstra, you're 8 of 23 from beyond the arc. You shoot 51%, and you're 8 of 3 from behind the line, which tells me that you had a heck of a shooting night inside the line, right? They were 37 of 72. So a lot of fast breaks, a lot of runouts. But if you force Kentucky to play a slower pace of basketball, right? Take it possession by possession by possession. This team can't shoot threes. Right? Like, they're just not able to do it. And look, I like Malik Monk. He's a really good player. But Kentucky has got a lot of limitations as a basketball team, and they win the games that they're supposed to win. But what I want to know from Kentucky is, are they a good team? Are they a great team? Can they win the games they're not supposed to? Can they win a lot of these games they're not supposed to win? We don't know. Or any of these difficult matchups. They've got North Carolina and Louisville right around the corner. So they're going to have their test. We're not going to have to guess for too long exactly how good Big Blue is over there. But at the moment, it is annoying me that I can't tell. right? Like they shoot 66% from the free throw line, 34% from three in that game against Hofstra. They're not a great free throw shooting team. They're not a great three-point shooting team. They score a lot of points in the paint. But here's the thing, like it gets harder to score points in the paint when you play a Louisville. It gets harder to score those points in the paint when you play a North Carolina. You're not going to get those fast break buckets when you play a North Carolina. You're going to have to grind it out against some of these better schools. And I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know if Kentucky has the firepower for that this season. They don't look like they're particularly built for it. And I just don't know if they've got it. I could be wrong about that. But those are going to be the games to pay attention to coming up around the corner, especially that North Carolina game, because of how prolific North Carolina is. They're going to start playing their home tilt here against Auburn on January 14th. But can we say that Kentucky is going to do the thing that they usually do and be a number one seed once we get to March? That's really what the issue is here. And they haven't proven it yet. They're not playing the most difficult schedule. Right? But they play North Carolina on the 17th. They play Louisville on the 21st. Those are the next two games. Then they play in the SEC, which is not the toughest bit, right? Auburn, Vanderbilt, Miss State. Tennessee might give them a scare because Tennessee hung around with North Carolina over the weekend. And there's a lot to be proud of there with that team because they are outgunned. Tennessee is rebuilding this basketball program. It's fun to watch. They're still outgunned by teams from North Carolina. If North Carolina beats Kentucky convincingly, it's not unreasonable to believe that when Tennessee and Kentucky play January 24th in Knoxville, in Rupp Arena, that Tennessee doesn't have a puncher's chance of winning a basketball game against a school that a lot of people feel is an elite school. Even though, and I will give you this caveat, I'm not sure if they're elite this season. You're listening to Nooga Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Let's talk some Monday Night Football, shall we? Got some Monday Night Football tonight. Baltimore, the Ravens against the Patriots. Tom Brady and the Patriots have some history with the Ravens. Quite a bit of history, in fact. They've got some meetings in the playoffs that have gotten fairly ridiculous. They've gotten some meetings in the regular season. But this game is a very important game because it's a statement game for the Patriots. It's something that the Patriots have to do for themselves. And the Ravens need to win this game to stay atop the division. They are 7-5. And every game that the Ravens win, they keep the Steelers in the back seat. Right? So the Ravens need to win this game. The Patriots at 10-2 do not need to win this game. But a game without Rob Gronkowski, people are starting to feel like the Patriots can't win without Gronk. They don't look good without Gronk. They don't look anywhere near as effective or as efficient, which makes sense because Rob Gronkowski is one of the best pass catchers in the game. He's got built-in separation, right? He's a mammoth. He is Frankenstein's monster. He is a gigantic beast of a man. And when he's being guarded by a linebacker or, God forbid, a corner, he devours them as he should. And he does so very consistently. It's hard to replace that. It is. And the Patriots don't look anywhere near as good. Tom Brady doesn't look like MVP caliber Tom Brady without Gronk, which is why I don't think you could give the MVP to Brady this season. Right? Like, it's the most valuable player on the Patriots is Rob Gronkowski. So it can't be Brady. The most valuable Pat is Gronk. So I'm looking at the Patriots and I'm going, if the Patriots manage to score number of points in this game. They score a lot. They score often. They keep the tempo high. They put the rest of the league on notice. They start to get some of that unbeatable aura back. You can't beat us. And it doesn't matter if we have Gronk. It doesn't matter if we don't have Gronk. You're not going to be able to take us out of a ball game. Because right now, people feel like if you are able to get to Tom Brady quickly enough before some of these receivers are able to get open, you can beat the Patriots. And I don't necessarily disagree. Right? I read that article a couple weeks back about how Tom Brady plays at a Ryan Fitzpatrick level when he doesn't have Gronkowski, which I just think is highly exaggerated and does not in any way take into account the alarming number of interceptions that Ryan Fitzpatrick throws that Tom Brady, Gronk or no Gronk, simply does not throw. Right? Brady is incredibly efficient and incredibly effective. And I don't want this to be one of those years where we just write Brady off because, I mean, we saw how well that went with Aaron Rodgers, right? Like this is his down year, and we just wrote off Aaron Rodgers and wrote off the Packers. No, what we're looking at here with the Patriots is a football team that just offensively, this is the weakest that I think I've ever seen them. You've got aging Tom Brady, and you've got nobody to speak of in terms of just sheer talent outside of Julian Edelman. And that defense, like the defense for the Patriots is really what carries it here. And it'll be interesting to see how the Ravens combat that, if they're able to score, just because of the struggles that they've had offensively this season. But the Ravens have been feasting on really big plays. Like they still hit those home run shots, which you're always going to do when you have Joe Flacco at quarterback. That's just how that's going to be. You're listening to Nooga Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. By the way, just a reminder, make sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You do still have to search Hot News Talk Radio in those places to find those things, but I recommend checking us out on YouTube. You can catch episodes of every local show that you have missed previously and get caught up if you want to find out what's been happening. You want to see what the inside of our studio looks like. We've got some interesting things happening in the studio right now, but you wouldn't know because you're not watching us on YouTube unless you are watching us on YouTube delayed. But I don't see any of you all here. So there. So now just one more parting shot at Jeff Fisher, because he got into that feud with Eric Dickerson. Eric Dickerson wanted to bring his boys to the game and watch the game from the sideline, which I would have allowed Eric Dickerson to do because Eric Dickerson is the greatest Ram. Yeah, he's the greatest Ram. It's Eric Dickerson. It's Kurt Warner. It's Marshall Faulk. The list can go on from there, but it starts with Eric Dickerson. Eric Dickerson is the greatest Ram. He's the greatest Ram. That I don't know what to tell you. He's a legend. So when a legend calls you up and says, hey, I want to watch the game from the sideline and I'd like to bring my friends with me, you let him do it. Okay? That's how this works. Right? Like there's no dispute there. If Dominique Wilkins wants to go back with the Atlanta Hawks and watch the game from the sideline with his friends, you let it happen. You make a way for that to happen. Eric Dickerson gets his wish, though, because now that Jeff Fisher's fired, this doesn't have to become something that becomes a giant feud, and now you've got a rift between the organization and a legend. Is Eric Dickerson essentially tap dancing on the grave of Jeff Fisher's career? And that happened very quickly. That was a turnaround of exactly 2 weeks. And I wonder how much input they're going to let Dickerson have in the next head coach hiring, or if that guy at all is Jim Harbaugh. Because that is what I have seen. I continue to see the name of Jim Harbaugh. It pops up again and again and again. And what's interesting to note is, yeah, I think Jim Harbaugh would like a chance to compete for a Super Bowl. But why on earth would Jim Harbaugh leave Michigan, where the setup is nice, where it's good, where it's a little bit cushy? Why would he leave the comfort of his alma mater to return to the dumpster fire that is LA? Like, why would he do that? You're joining a quarterback that can't play and a backup quarterback that we've seen through extensive experience also can't play. Can't play. You've got an offensive line that can't play. You've got a defense that is pretty good and Todd Gurley. That's your team? So what you're telling me is essentially Tavon Austin, Todd Gurley, the rest of your offense is worthless, and the front seven of your defense and a corner? What? Why would you leave for that? Like, if there was a job that could lure Jim Harbaugh back to the NFL, I for sure guarantee you it ain't the Rams. Okay? It's the most toxic job in sports. You could argue the Browns, but I think it was fairly obvious about 5 weeks into this season, the Browns weren't winning games because they just don't have anybody. The Rams have people. It's just ridiculous how those people get used. Why would you ever come back to that? Right? Like, the Brown situation isn't toxic. It's just horrible. It's like watching a train wreck. Right? Like, the fans there are putting up with something that is historically bad. Right? I don't know if the Browns are going to make it to 0-16. I feel like they've got a chance to avoid that with Robert Griffin III, because I just think RG3 is capable of occasionally pulling out a good enough game to get a win. I watched it with my own eyes. But the way he played last week, I think he went into halftime this Sunday with a quarterback rating of 0. I don't know if the Browns can avoid 0-16, but those guys are out there trying. You don't always get trying from the Rams. That's all I'm saying. You're listening to NoogaRadio.com, AM 1240, Keon Rose, Clutch with Keon. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. I'll see you in 24 hours with Alex Jones.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Truex Jr. is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. And Elliott Powers around the outside. Michael McDowell pops the right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the bottom. Blaney blocks him off too. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Fox News Talk 1240.
The voice of NASCAR.
Is your career taking you where you want to go? If not, talk to Covenant Group Insurance, especially if you like helping people. Call and learn how you can work for yourself, but not by yourself. Intense but free training, plus a fantastic lead program, plus office support equals your success, your prosperity. Gross at least $75,000 your first year selling insurance. Call Steve or Jada for a confidential interview. That's 855-8484. Maybe the most important call you'll make all year.
Looking for a dream home, or maybe you're just a first-time home buyer? Let an agent get you started today on your house search. If you're a real estate agent looking for a change, see what Exit can do for you. The agents at Exit Realty Scenic City are confident they can sell your house. They can do it in 99 days or less. If no one works hard.